What if I told you that the most dangerous phase of this story didn't begin when the CIA was hacked, but when everyone believed it was finished? Because that silence changed everything. Hello, everyone. Welcome back in part 2. After the first breach shocked America, officials rushed to calm the public. Statements were made, experts spoke confidently, and the country was told the situation had been handled. Slowly, the story disappeared from headlines. People moved on, but the kids didn't. They were still online, watching every reaction, every denial, every attempt to downplay what had happened. And what they saw didn't scare them. It did the opposite. It made them believe they had gotten away with something much bigger than they originally understood. In their minds, this wasn't luck anymore. This was proof. Proof that the systems people trusted with national security weren't as solid as they appeared. Proof that authority didn't always mean awareness. And once that belief settled in, curiosity turned into confidence. They went back to exploring, not recklessly, but calmly, slowly, almost carefully. What disturbed investigators later wasn't the speed of what they did, but how patient they were. They weren't smashing doors. They were observing routines, understanding behavior, and moving through digital spaces the way insiders did. At some point, fear completely disappeared. Their conversations changed. They stopped sounding like teenagers impressed by what they had done and started sounding like people who believed they were invisible. They weren't chasing money or fame. They wanted to know how far the illusion of security really went. And still, nothing happened. That silence pushed them further. Eventually, they decided to leave subtle proof behind. Not enough to cause chaos. Not enough to expose everything. Just enough to make one thing clear to the people who truly understood what they were seeing. This wasn't over. Behind closed doors, that message landed hard. What had started as a breach was now treated as humiliation. And humiliation is something governments never ignore for long. The approach changed quietly. No press conferences, no public threats, just observation. Every interaction was studied. Every online habit mattered. Because while technology can hide faces and names, behavior always leaves fingerprints. Patterns began to form. Time zones, writing styles, the rhythm of communication. Slowly, a shape emerged. The kids felt the pressure before they could explain it. Conversations became shorter. Trust began to crack. Paranoia replaced excitement. Every message felt heavy, as if it might be the one that ended everything. And pressure does something dangerous, especially to young minds. It removes patience. That impatience created mistakes. Not dramatic ones, small ones. The kind that don't feel important until it's too late. When arrests finally happened, there were no cinematic moments, no chase scenes. Just doors opening, confused parents and teenagers realizing that the system they thought they had beaten had been quietly watching them the entire time. America didn't know how to react. These weren't foreign agents. They weren't career criminals. They were kids with ordinary lives who had done something extraordinary and deeply unsettling. Courtrooms struggled to make sense of it. Punishments felt symbolic compared to the questions the case raised. Because the real damage wasn't stolen data or exposed systems. It was trust. Agencies rewrote policies. Budgets exploded. New security measures were rushed into place. But behind all the fixes was a truth nobody wanted to say out loud. These weaknesses existed long before the kids ever found them. And then the story faded again. Which brings us to the part nobody talks about. What happened to the kids after everything went quiet? Some received sentences. Some faced restrictions that followed them for years. Others vanished completely from public view. Their names stopped appearing. Their faces were never shown again. But not all of them disappeared. Reports suggest that some of those teenagers grew up to work in cybersecurity, consulting, and digital defense. The same curiosity that once exposed flaws was now being used to protect systems. In a strange twist, the people who embarrassed the system became part of it. Others chose normal lives. No interviews, no attention. Just anonymity. The same anonymity that once gave them power. And yet, their impact never faded. Because they proved something that can't be unproven. They showed that power on the internet doesn't always belong to governments, agencies, or massive budgets. Sometimes it belongs to those who understand how systems really work, and where people stop paying attention. That's why this story still matters. Not because the CIA was hacked, but because it was hacked by kids who revealed how fragile digital authority really is. And the most uncomfortable question isn't about what they did back then, it's about what happens next. Because somewhere right now, someone younger is watching this story unfold, learning from it, and asking the same question that changed everything the first time. If they could do it, why can't I?